Hi everyone. We're all probably we all have a sense of the private 5G market in China, how well advanced, how well developed it is, how big it is ultimately in terms of deployments, by revenue, by everything else. But we don't hear as much from it directly, which perhaps reflects on our reporting of it. But today we have the privilege to speak with the international division of China Mobile, the biggest mobile operator in the country, if not the world, and the biggest for private 5G as well. So I would like to introduce Sam Bao, who's Deputy Head and Director of Technical Services at China Mobile International UK. Sam, nice to have you with us.
Hi, James. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, everybody. This is Sam. I'm from China Mobile International UK Limited.
Brilliant. So Sam, just tell me a bit about, I guess, China Mobile International, Limited, how that's set up, a little bit briefly of your history, if you can.
Sure. So we are the international arm of the China Mobile Group, which is the largest carrier in the world. We set up about 10, 11, about 15 years ago now. Time flies. So we are responsible for all the international business of the group has, including supporting Chinese business settling abroad, as well as help international businesses go into China. So that's our main customer base, really.
Okay, and Sam, I mean, I referenced it in the intro, but just say something of the China experience, if you can, with private 5G and the policy and strategy conditions which have kind of made it such a force, in the private 5G world.
Sure, James. As you mentioned, China at the moment is leading the private 5G deployment. Latest figure from the regulators, probably about 64,000 private 5G network in play. Now, I think that is a combination of effort from the regulatory as well as the industry together. So the regulatory is supportive in the 5G development as a whole, especially with the private 5G. They actually create ecosystem. One of the arrangement was called a Bloom Cup 5G application. Those competitions every year, they name and fund and name those innovative 5G applications for private deployment. So these are from regulatory perspective, from China Mobile and all the industrial peers perspective, we are bringing big efforts into push 5G private network along. So that's the results. We work with the ecosystem partners, mainly with the application partners as well as the equipment vendors, to build the whole ecosystem together. I think that's is a key to have adaptations fairly widely in China.
But I mean, the business model, I guess, in China is different. You kind of referenced it a little bit, but in terms of it's carrier spectrum, it's carrier led as a market. It's a hybrid. It tends to be a hybrid private 5G structure commonly. Can that work in Europe, in North America, in other markets? I mean, how does that translate?
Yeah, so in China at the moment is really carriers leading this private 5G deployment because spectrum licensing, etc. Deployment models are very common, similar to what the industry sees. Got the slicing models or a local core. Now, many countries in the world at the moment has industrial spectrum. However, most countries are still relying on the carrier to enable the private 5G deployment. I think the model we adopt is fairly can be mimicked in many countries. Even in those countries has industrial spectrum available, the carrier is still in the play. We work with many European carriers, which they are very active in the private 5G deployment.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean that relationship with the European carriers, I guess that's part of the strategy about how you're bringing Chinese enterprises into Europe to set up these networks to connect their machines and their processes and whatever else it may be. Just talk about and talk about the kind of the appetite among Chinese enterprises to for these kind of for private 5G networks in Europe and elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So these Chinese enterprises, when they go abroad, which is a big trend at the moment, when they set up plants, set up maybe ports and the mining facilities, they will typically requires private 5G. So now they are, because of China Mobile's doing business in China, the scale we have, we work with almost all of those customers. We already have a relationship in China with those big enterprises. We are trusted partners. When they're going abroad to and trying to enable the private 5G for their business use, we are the obvious partners. We have capabilities, we have a trust relationships. Then we normally do is to provide a turnkey solution for them, because especially those enterprises coming just coming outside China, go to international market, they will need time to familiar with the local market, especially supply chain. Why they want to focus on their core businesses only, so they don't want to develop another supply chain which will potentially delay things. So they prefer turnkey solution. Well, China Mobile is here to help them to achieve that. We provide the network. Now, many cases would work with the local carriers. We, as well as we provide bringing our ecosystem partners together to supply and build the application, 5G application for the enterprises.
And what about going the other way then? Do you see the same interest from enterprises? And I guess the point is the whole market going into China.
Yeah, so we support international business going to China, support them to build their factories to enable their 5G setup. Now, we not only work with the carriers, so the enterprise directly, but we are more than happy, and we sometimes prefer to work with their existing partners in the 5G space. For example, their local telcos, for example, their big SIs, which they already work with. We actually prefer working with these guys in China to help the end customer to build their facilities. The model is a similar sort of idea, really. It's they already have a trusted relationship. The international business already have trusted relationship with these big telcos, SIs. They should utilize it. Then we are obviously having relationships with all those big telcos, existing relationship. That model works, can be work very, very well.
So I guess, I mean, my temptation is to ask then, why an international enterprise would choose China Mobile International for going into China versus a big, global specialist SI or a telco. And I'm guessing from the sounds of things, the point is it's not about you against the SI or the MNO. It's about the whole ecosystem together, and that you have that expertise on the ground. That's the point you're making there.
Yeah, exactly. So at the moment, China Mobile has the most deployed private 5G in China. So we have the let's say best experiences to deploy such networks, and at the same time we have a relationship with the telcos and the big SIs. So we are help to enable. End of the day is the end international business. Their goal, their business expansion is really the end result.
And Sam, can you talk about specific partners? I mean, in terms of, I guess in terms of the MNOs, but also the network equipment vendors be interesting to hear who you're working with there. Both, when you're working on these deployments outside of China, or actually when you're taking business back into China as well.
Yeah, we are vendor agnostic, really. So as even the China Mobile Group, when we procure equipment in China, we have all the major telco equipment vendors, Huawei, obviously, Ericsson, Nokia, all these guys on the play. Then when we deploy in China for private 5G, we work all of them. It's many times a preference of end customer or the SIs designing for this such a network for the end customer. What vendors they prefer. For example, they may already work with a particular equipment vendor in Europe, and they want to keep the same vendor in deploy in China. Fairly common. We've seen that a lot. We're happy to do that. We're happy to support. This is what we do. We support end customer requirements.
And I mean, Sam, in terms of the vendor market, and I don't want to dwell on the vendor market, but it's interesting the vendor market because there are the big network equipment vendors which exist in the public 5G space as well. But there's a lot of other types of vendors, smaller kind of specialist vendors. Are those relationships you have, or you're looking to expand and multiply?
So in China, these with the 5G space, there's plenty of smaller vendors specialize in certain areas, while they certain 5G areas only, where the others they put together then create a 5G or total 5G solution. I have to say, in international market, we are open for those vendors. In China market, less so. In China markets, the vendors has to be on our shortlist, for so to speak. So we work with major vendors. Typically, we work with major vendors. If there's a smaller players, we have to see case by case if that's can be deployed.
And Sam, just as well, beyond 5G, I mean, the whole CMI proposition goes beyond that, right? I mean, it's not just a private 5G network, it's part of a bigger enterprise play with IoT and AI, presumably, and various industrial applications on top. Just explain what you're kind of knitting together and presenting to the market.
Yes, so we have throughout the years, we find that the network alone wouldn't be that attractive to the end customer. So we have always been working with industrial partners for the application for different verticals. Now, application is a key. Everybody knows that. That's the customer can see. So we work with vendors for those scenarios. Now the AI is coming. There's a hope that finally we may have some say killer applications for the 5G space that will fill the requirements for not only for private 5G but the 5G in general. So this is a wait and see that it can happen. In terms of the current adaptations, we have our application, 5G application, but mainly is a platform. For China Mobile's build a 5G application platform that they can be, it's like a platform of service that can be deployed in many different verticals that then the specialized application for each those industrials can be sort of, let's say, slide in that platform. So we could have a unified management for all those applications to enable basically build a link between the network and the applications.
So Sam, I don't want to dwell on it because AI is everywhere, but that AI thing, are you seeing interest? Are you seeing that interest in kind of industrial AI, if you like, drive interest in industrial networking technologies like IoT, but also private 5G? Is that something that you're seeing in the market now?
I think AI is everywhere, especially industrial AI. Now, I wish I could say yes. I've seen quite a big take on this. I think it still needs some time for that AI to fully utilize, fully supporting those AI industrial pieces and fully utilize the 5G. I haven't seen myself let's say a killer application, but maybe somewhere in the horizon will come up soon.
I'm aware we're kind of almost up on time, but just very quickly on the verticals, I mean, it seems that that's fairly well understood. Where are you finding, business? Where are you targeting? Is it? Presumably it's big ports and that kind of thing. But just give us a sense of where you're working.
Yeah, so throughout those years, so we've, in China, we've been trying to put the 5G a private network in almost all verticals, right? There's some success than the others, especially these big open area environment. For example, ports, for example, mines, for example, big plants, manufacturing plants. These are typical usage. That's a similar thing what we see with our Chinese enterprise coming to outside China that deploying 5G networks. Typically in those verticals. Now, in same thing when we see international business going to China, that typically in those manufacture plants, they will have the 5G requirements. Are we going to see 5G, private 5G in the, let's say, SME? Yeah, I guess so. I was hoping so as well. There's 5G has distinctive advantage over other alternative wireless technologies. But the other industry, people do need to work together to bring the cost down, especially those 5G chipsets and 5G CPEs. And not only once the cost down, you have more variety of the people will have more choices to have those CPEs. Then 5G could unleash their true potentials.
And Sam, just kind of to wrap up and bring together some of those things you referenced about delivering a turnkey solution, about the opportunity somewhere down the line in the kind of SME market, the need to work together, that kind of team sport of this. Just is the China Mobile or slash China Mobile International view that this private 5G should be an easy kind of copy and paste type of exercise? Is it how much is custom and how much is modular, if you like? And what's the experience and how much engineering really needs to go into this to make these solutions work in different enterprises in different industries?
So from what we see, the deployment, outside China in Europe, that all the industries are different, all the requirements are different. It's a bespoke solution. We are trying to obviously standardize it. You could, from network architecture point of view, you can standardize it. There's a few choices. Again, we have utilize our R&D capabilities to develop a platform, linking the network and the application that can be standardized. Then from the platform onwards will be those applications. So those applications will be highly customized because the customers, different industries will have their different requirements for the preferred applications. Even people in the same industry, they may choose a different applications, from different application vendors, have a different features. So these are, from what we see, is a highly customizable. For the Chinese enterprise going up abroad, we're trying to do the turnkey solution for them. We work with the equivalent vendors. For the international business going to China, we work with telcos and the SIs to support them mainly from network perspective, but as well as the local ecosystem. We open our local ecosystem to those partners so they can have a better choices and more choices.
Sam, I'm really sorry. We gotta end it there. We're up on time. But look, we could talk all day. It's really interesting to hear something of the China story and what's going on there and the kind of strategy and plans for the rest of the world. So that's great. So Sam, look, brilliant. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll catch you again soon.
Sure. Pleasure's mine. Thank you, James.
Okay. Cheerio. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.